Oh my God, we're cone free. We're cone free. If you saw my video maybe 2 weeks ago, you saw that Tucker had a cone and now he's cone free. So our topic this week is relationship do's and don'ts and general kind of things you should or should not do in a relationship. So I have a long list, but I'll try to get through it pretty quickly. So I have some that kind of fit on both sides, but I think the first thing, if you are living with your partner, is to try and share the load. Like, try and share the chores that need to happen in the house, the stuff that needs to be done in order to keep the house going. And as much as possible, I think you should try and split the bills based on people's salaries. So right now I make more money than Stefan does, so I pay more of the bills than he does. But once our salaries are more even after he finishes school, then we'll probably split the bills pretty close to 50-50, or yeah. So try and share the load. And I think, with him, when he was working a lot more and going to school, I did a lot more of the chores, but now he is home more than I am, so he does a whole lot more of the chores than I do. So as much as you can, I think it's important to try and share the load, because it makes it a lot easier. And with that is to try and think like your partner when it comes to things around the house. I think it can be really helpful if you can think, oh, I should start the laundry, or I should clean the bathroom, or I should go to the store and pick up a few things that I know that they're going to want to pick up, but they have a really busy week at work this week, or they've got crazy things going on at school or in other endeavors. So as much as you can, to try and share the load. I've said this in probably all of my videos when we've talked about relationship things, that it's incredibly important to communicate with each other and to be honest with each other, even when that honesty is not necessarily the most comfortable thing, but to say, this is what I'm thinking, and it sounds really cliche, but to say, I feel angry when you do this, as opposed to being like, well, you're just mean, or you do this, or you do that. Like, try not to be so accusatory, because I think a lot of arguments start when people are being really accusatory with each other. With that, when it comes to having arguments in the relationship, I think it's really important to fight fair and to not bring up things that are really far in the past. Like, if you had a fight about something like 2 years ago and you're fighting about a similar thing and you're like, well, 2 years ago you did this. Don't do that. Don't bring it back up. Like, let the past be the past and try and fight fair. And also, don't bring things into the fight that don't relate to the topic at hand. Like, if you're fighting about money and you bring up, like, you don't like your partner's friend Joe, but that has nothing to do with money. Like, now you're just bringing things up to just fight. So try and keep the fight about what it's about, and try to be fair with each other and listen to the other person's opinion, and when you're done, let it go. And I think this is really hard for the women who might be watching this, because as women, I think we tend to hold on to things. Even if we say we let it go, a lot of times we don't let it go. So it's really important, as much as you can, to try and let it go. Because if you can let it go, then when you are in a fight 2 years down the road, you're not going to bring that thing back up because you let it go. In more of the don't section, I would say try not to go to bed angry. Like, try to hash things out before you lay down and go to bed, because usually if you go to bed angry, you're going to wake up angry. And it's certainly nice to be able to sleep on things sometimes and to just kind of, feel the shit out of your feelings, because we all need to feel the shit out of our feelings sometimes. But I think it's important, if you are angry at your partner, to say something and to not let things sit. And that's kind of where the don't go to bed angry piece that you hear from a lot of people comes from, is not sitting in that anger for two days, 2 weeks, 2 months, however long it may be, until you're ready to have the conversation. When I worked with students, I always would tell them 24 hours. Like, try to have the conversation within 24 hours. And if you're not willing to have it within 24 to maybe 48 hours, then let it go and move on. See, I also think it's in the don't section. Don't think that your partner has to be your everything all the time. And it's not that they're not important to you, but I was sharing with Stefan that I was listening to Jillian Michaels' podcast, and she was talking about her and Heidi and how they're a really great pair and that they balance each other out in a lot of ways. But Heidi has zero desire to go to the casino. Jillian and Bob Harper go to the casino because Bob is Jillian's casino buddy. So it's important to not think that your partner has to love all the same things that you love. And I think with that is having friends that are mostly your friends, and letting your partner have friends that are mostly their friends. And it's not that you don't get to know that friend or you don't spend time with that friend, but that you have people that are mostly your friend or mostly your partner's friend, and that's okay. Let's see what else is on my list. Try not to panic during the tough times. I think especially if you're younger or you haven't been in a lot of relationships, it can be really easy when things get rough to panic and believe that it is about to be the end of the relationship. And most times it's going to be okay. Like, every relationship is going to have those tough moments. It's going to have those times when things aren't going great. So doing your best to stay calm during that time and trying to not panic will make it a lot easier to get through it. Another don't think that your partner can read your mind. And I think, I will say for me as well, and I think it's a woman thing, I tend to think that he can read my mind, and that's not always true. And so sometimes I'm like, I don't know why he didn't wash the dishes, because he was here all day, so he should have washed the dishes, but he can't read my mind. So sometimes you got to kind of know where your partner is and the way that they think. And if you need to remind them to do something that you think that they should do, then take 2 minutes and remind them and say, hey, can you start the laundry? Hey, can you run and grab this for me? Hey, can you finish painting that wall? Can you do this? Can you do that? So that you don't come home angry because you thought they were going to do something that they didn't do. And I'm not great at it, but I'm trying to be better at saying, hey, can you do this? So I've ran through a lot really quickly, but I want to say one last thing on the topic of snooping. And I'm not saying this as a do or as a don't, because I think many of us at some point are going to snoop in our partner's email or their Facebook, or their private messages on Twitter or whatever other social network things that they do, or in their text messages or whatever. Like, we're all going to do that at some point because we're people and we just wonder what they're talking about sometimes. But if you're going to do it, you have to be prepared to deal with whatever you might find. And you might find nothing. You might find nothing that is of concern or that makes you have any questions. You may be like, I totally didn't need to snoop because they're not doing anything. They're just talking to their friend Billy about basketball. But you may find something that you weren't expecting that might cause some strife in your relationship. And I think if you're going to snoop, you have to be prepared for that. And when you approach your partner about that snooping, or about the thing that you found, you also have to admit that you snooped in order to find it. So I was looking in your Facebook because either I did or it popped up when I opened the computer or whatever, however you saw whatever you saw, whether it was really intentional or whether it was accidental. But to admit, hey, I saw this and I read it and I need you to explain this to me, or can you help me understand? But I think it's important to be prepared for what you might find. And hopefully you'll find nothing. But I think sometimes as people, we can take things out of context. And so a conversation we may see or something that we may see happening, we might create a whole bunch of context around it, and really it has nothing to do with what we think it is. So I guess I would say snoop with caution if that's what you're going to do, but be prepared for what you might see. So I think those are all my relationship do's and don'ts. I am not certain what our topic is going to be next week, but tune in and we'll all be here, and see everybody soon. Peace.